In 2014, a group of people based in Umlazi, KwaZulu-Natal joined together to form the Dilanga Kubono Business Forum. Many people involved in this forum were ex-convicts, many of whom committed murder, rape, and cash-in-transit heists. And when the forum was initiated, it only had one agenda on its plate. They wanted money and they were happy to use violence in order to get it. Very soon after the formation of this forum, they gave the city of Durban, the biggest city in KwaZulu-Natal, an ultimatum. You give lucrative tenders to the forum, or the forum makes sure that chaos ensues in Durban. Unfortunately for the forum, the city did have an urgent court interdict granted to them to prevent this forum from initiating any chaos within the city limits. But whereas Plan A failed for the forum, Plan B was just about to get started. Because the forum started to invade construction sites across KwaZulu-Natal, demanding a percentage of the contract, but also that construction companies should employ their people on the sites. And these invasion of construction sites were accompanied by people with AK-47s, machetes, and handguns. As for who actually heads up the forum, his name is Malusi Zondi. Zondi is a very old ANC member who dabbled quite a bit in Zimbabwe in the black market diamond business. He returned to KwaZulu-Natal in 2015 from Zimbabwe in order to carve out a life in terms of radical economic transformation. For those of you who are not in South Africa, radical economic transformation, or RET, is a mantra of a section of the governing party of South Africa. And in essence, it wishes to remove all white people from the economy full stop, and then give those productive assets to black South Africans, so that black South Africans can own the economy. It's a strange mix of communism and racial nationalism, but the story only gets deeper from there. Because by 2018, the construction mafia, as this forum would later be known, is firmly established in KwaZulu-Natal, and their influence spreads nationally. Because by 2018, copycat groups popped up all over the place. Because in 2018, there are many developers in other provinces stating how 10 or 12 people would come armed to the construction site and demand 30% of the contract, or demand that only certain people are allowed to be employed on the site. Whereas other people would go to other construction sites and demand payments of $700 each for a month, and also submitted quotes for building materials at very highly inflated prices. Whereas in the Eastern Cape, a $95 million bridge project was terminated after gun-wielding forum members intimidated staff and made the site inaccessible for 84 straight days. In fact, the developer of the bridge project in the Eastern Cape said that they had operations in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in various dangerous countries around the world, but this is the first time they've seen anything to this degree. Whereas in another province, the Western Cape, a $200 million oil storage facility has basically been mothballed after an armed gang went into the site and started burning everything in sight. And throughout all of these invasions, there are several common threads that flow through all of these stories. Number one, the invaders always ask for 30% of the contract. And if you wonder why 30% as a number, well, it is the value given to black partners under a South African law that governs South African affirmative action. So what the forum wants is a 30% bribe in return for protection against armed invaders of construction sites. So in essence, if you do not pay them, they will shut down your site. But at the end of the day, despite all these slogans, despite all the rhetoric, what these forums are basically mafias, extortion rackets. Under the guise of radical economic transformation, all these people really do is extort people and say if they don't get paid, they will commit violence. And violence is very much what they do. Because in 2016, a construction contractor was actually murdered by the forums for refusing to comply with their requests. Whereas in 2021, 2 workers were seriously injured during a site invasion in the Western Cape. And according to Natim Yandu, who is a leader in this construction mafia, and I quote, "If you don't stop, they will get in trouble. We'll give them direction and show them the constitution that we are using. If they do not comply, my friend, I cannot tell you over the phone what we will do." So as you can see, the forum is more than happy to actually use deadly violence to get what they want. So the one question you might have is, why haven't these people been stopped? They are causing untold misery in the construction sector. A lot of very important infrastructure is not being dealt with due to the construction mafia. Why hasn't the police and the intelligence services clamp down? Well, my friends, it's actually rather simple, because the construction mafia and its affiliations are nothing more than paramilitary groups for political parties. And of course, politicians within those political parties. For example, a lot of the construction mafia is aligned with former President of South Africa, Jacob Zuma. In fact, he was invited to a gala dinner a few years ago and was honored with an award for bravery by the very people who are at the head of the construction mafia. The mafia also helped the former president with the settling of his legal bills. But not only do the mafia target very high-ranking politicians, they also have a hand in determining which councillor controls which ward in which municipality. Because if you are chosen as a councillor by the mafia and you are given an opportunity to run for the ward and you win it, therefore all local projects will have to go back to the mafia. And those councillors who do not cooperate with the mafia are either killed or severely intimidated. Like in 2021, where Councillor Wetepo Motaung, a councillor from Mapopane, was shot 20 times by hitmen. To date, his killers have not been found, but his murder is linked to the construction mafia in the area in which he governed. So in essence, the reason why these paramilitary groups have not been stopped is because they are essentially part of the state. And if the state is in cahoots with the mafia, of course, they will never be stopped. So now that the state cannot stop the mafia because they are essentially one and the same, what can private businesses do to prevent the construction mafia from destroying the industry? Well, according to some in the construction industry, they have applied for over 50 interdicts against the construction mafia, and those interdicts are completely ignored. Several businesses have tried to speak to the government on a local, national, provincial level, but as always, to no avail. Some businesses have even beefed up their own security, but of course, who wants running gun battles on construction sites? I mean, in essence, it appears to defend yourself from the construction mafia, you need to have your own private army. And of course, some foreign viewers of this channel might be wondering to themselves, where on earth is the police in all of this? Well, they do exist, but they are wildly incompetent. For example, in 2021, the police arrived at an invaded construction site, but refused to engage with the mafia until the public order policing arrived on scene. So the police just watched until the site burned to the ground in front of them. By the time the public order policing actually arrived 3 hours later, there was not much to defend. And as of making this video today, the construction mafia is very much still around. But here is the interesting part, it has transitioned from a violent extraction style mafia group to a more legitimate interest group. Because right now, the construction mafia comprises of several different black business forums who are now invited to government events and are seen as legitimate economic actors and interest groups within the construction industry. So in essence, the leadership has not changed, the name has changed, but the tactics haven't changed either. But unfortunately, the mafia has become so entrenched within the industry that it is now really a cost of business to just integrate them into your construction site. And because they are protected by politicians, notably in the ANC, any legal remedies that apply to the construction mafia just never appear. So either construction companies can build their own private armies to fend off the construction mafia, or they can just have them as a cost to business and integrate them into the structures of the company anyway. So what started off as a violent extractive mafia has now become a legitimate interest and economic group that have become part of the fabric of the South African economy. The one thing that has changed though is that municipalities and cities across South Africa are mothballing infrastructure projects like there is no tomorrow. So now that the construction mafia is legitimized in various means, fundamentally, municipalities understand the inherent danger of that mafia going forward, and therefore they are just not putting any money whatsoever into much needed infrastructure in South Africa. And there you have it. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in more documentaries like this, please why not hit that subscribe button. Thank you. See you soon. Bye.